Ein, zwei, drei! Excelsior, you fatheads! Oh, now we're here at the Limelight. Silly, isn't it? Yes, we're at the Limelight on Sheridan Square, right in the heart of steaming, fetid, passionate New York City. And you know what the slogan of New York is? New York is a summer fistfight. Hi, George. And we're down here, and we'll be here until midnight, festering and popping and steaming away. The temperature hovers in the 90-degree mark. The humidity is about 97%. It is at these moments that man's blood begins to boil. In fact, if you've been wondering all those years you've been listening to the radio when they're really going to say it on the radio, what do you mean it? What is it? What a rotten bunch. Look at that. Look at that. Here every night I come down here believing that this is a clean-limbed, beautiful group of humanity gathered every night here to pay homage to the muses. And listen to what I get here. Sarcastic, snotty tittering in the darkness here. Are you aware, friends, that tonight is a full moon night? Already I've received 5 insane nut notes up here at the front desk here. Each one scrawled in a rugged handwriting and says, I am here! It's a full moon night. Look around, friends. Yes, out of the darkness and from under those privet hedges they come. Each one of us has, though, don't you forget it, inside of us, a little gray, furry creature with red-rimmed, bloodshot eyes. Don't think for 1 minute those horn-rimmed glasses fool me, Dad. And those hair curlers. Oh, no. Inside of each one of us is this little sneaky thing. And you stand around. And it's going inside. Kill him. Kill him. And you drive, you know, you're out on Queens Boulevard driving along there, and you see this fantastic wreck. The guys are laying all over, the blood is flowing, and the cars are burning. And you say, I never look at accidents. And this little thing inside of you says, go on back, take a look. That's where the action is. Go on back. You know, it's like the Daily News. You ever seen those? It says, crash photos on page 3. And you go past this picture, Gina Lola Brigida, alderman caught in fantastic love nest. Whenever you go past the crash photos, just take a look at them. Look at that. And you see the Chevy all splattered all over Queens Highway. And you're sitting there with your little safety belts on. Oh, boy. Just living. And, you know, I think civilization is an entire structure to keep us out of danger. I think that's really what society is. It's a structure that we built, a fantastic conglomeration of rules and laws and ways and paths and roads and cars and wheels, all of it to keep us out of danger. Have you noticed that in the society we live in, hardly anybody's ever seen anybody really dead? You know? You never see anybody born. Very few of us ever do. All the while we see people drive cars around. They walk around, they've got clothes on, they look very official. We look sort of immortal, immutable. But once in a great while, a thing comes along where we know a guy is in mortal danger. And we all watch. I think most guys that are involved in brave things were not even asked. I'm in the Army right over here at Fort Dix. Oh, what a place. Oy. And they sent about 25 guys from the Signal Corps there on what they called assigned detached service. No questions. I was at Monmouth for a while. One day they called about 25 guys. You're going over to Dick's for a couple of days, you guys. Take your helmets. All right. So they send us over there, and there's 25 of us. And all of us have been trained in an esoteric Signal Corps art. We are trained in high-speed wire laying. Any of you ex-GIs know what this is? Well, it's about as close as driving the wrong way on 6th Avenue at rush hour as you can get. It really is. 3 guys stand on the back end of a Jeep, which has no governor on it, is going 79 miles an hour through the jungles and the swamps, and you've got a big reel of wire, and you're throwing a wire out. That's all. You know, you go up and down, you throw more wire out, and you're laying it. You see, and all the while, guys are shooting. And you lay this wire. You know, have you ever seen the scenes in the movies where Gregory Peck is on the phone and he's talking to the forward observation post? It's Van Johnson up there, or James Whitmore, or somebody. Has it ever occurred to you that some poor slob somebody's up there with the wires? You know, boom. All right, so you got a wrong number. Shut up. You know, wrong number. I'll get your number. And boom, another one. And of course, all the while they're lobbing the mortars in. See, and what a high-speed signal wire laying team is really it's a kind of a low-level suicide squad. And so we're standing there, and the captain says, "All right, men, we're going to try a very interesting experiment." And, you know, it looks so innocent there in the sun at Fort Dix, you know. We're going to try a new method of laying wire. What do you think is warming up 45 feet behind us? A DC-3. And there's a strange-looking rack on the bottom of it. And he says, "All right, I want the five guys on the end." Guess who was number 3 from the left? I don't know, you know. I learned later, that was early in my career, boy. After that, I'm always in the middle of the line, jostling. A GI learns to jostle both left and right simultaneously. You know? A guy, if you ever saw an amoeba divide itself up a million ways, a GI could be 7 guys, 3 guys on the end there, and all it is Fred. He's the truth. Personal camouflage is a real art, really. And so there I am, you know, the 5 of us, and we don't, you know, we still can't believe it. We cannot believe it. You know, we think that they're going to put us in the plane, take us to some other place, then they will put us in our Jeep, and we will have maybe dual carbs on the Jeep, you know. It's going to be the dangerous experiment. So the plane is going, and the captain says, "There has been a lot of speculation as to whether or not number 17, double-stranded, M1/2 telephone communication wire, Series B, can be laid from the air." And the 5 of us, you know, they have decided to stop speculating. And he says, "We're going to try this afternoon. What we're going to do, men, first of all, we're going to get into this thing gradually." How do you get in the air gradually? Immediately at my mind, he says, "We're going to try short segments of wire laying. We're going to fly at an altitude of 150 feet. And here is the way the rack works. Sergeant Haskell will show you." And old Haskell says, "Come here, man. Get up here in the plane." So we climb up in the plane, and I'll tell you, a military airplane does not look like American Airlines. There's all kinds of little things that says, "Escape. In case of enemy fire, pull this." You know, all sorts of things, you know, little things to hang on to when it's going down. And it's just nothing but apparently a little thin shell of Reynolds wrap between you and the fantastic things that are out there. So we're standing in this plane. They don't even have floors in them, you know, just little runways. We're standing there. And he says, "Now, when we get over the wire laying area, the navigator up in front will give us a signal through the intercom. This is the intercom. You wear the earphones. He will say we are approaching the wire area. Release hatch cover. At that point, you, and he points to Gasser, my buddy. He says, at that point, you reach down and grasp handle B. See it? B. Slip it back like that. You, Shep it. Get over on this side. Handle A. Like that. Swing it back. Snap it back on snap C. Here. I tried. Go ahead, Gasser. Gasser gets down there. I get over here. I lift it up, and all of a sudden, there ain't no floor in the plane. I can see the dandelions down there. And the hole is like 20 feet wide and this big, see? And we stand there. We're all sort of standing back. And it's only, the airplane's only about 6 feet off the ground. The thing goes down. And it looks like you're a mile high already. We're standing around. There's a little place to stand, We're all looking down. And he says, all right, now you. Over there, you two. You press lever C. You see it down here on the winch? The minute you do that, you throw out chute D. Chute D is there. It's a little chute on the end of the wire. Throw it out. It will begin to unreel. Watch the counter. The minute you hit 17.5, snap it off, close the hatch, and signal the navigator the wire has been laid. Any questions? There are some questions you can't phrase. You can't put them into words, and I'm thinking, all I got to do is pull back, snap A, Gasser's on B, and Gasser, and the five of us. The sergeant crawls down, and he says, they're going to lay the wire over this area, right here to the left of the landing strip, over the trees, and past the water tower. We want to see how it works in uneven terrain. Any questions about that? All right, men. Good luck. And we're sitting there, and up in the front, you can see the navigator, the crew chief, and the pilot. Everything is open in a warplane. It's everything. And something isn't working. They're fooling around. We're sitting there watching. They're getting the thing started. And it's very funny to see them start an airplane. In the Army, it's almost like a Ford or something. It starts, They just turn a couple of switches and... And the wings are flopping. Oh, yeah, those old DC-3s had a great way. And we start rolling over the dandelion. We get at the other end. I'll tell you, we're sitting there, and they got these little holes you can look out. And we can see our friendly barracks back there. Camp Dix looked beautiful. The sun is coming down. You could see guys going in to get their Milky Ways at the P action. It looked like the most beautiful place in the world. Guys are walking out, and this thing is going... And the plane is rolling. We get out to the end of what was the runway, It was just a long field. And we're sitting there looking at that winch. Some nut invented this thing. And it's laying there, and it's made out of blue steel. Somebody had welded it together. It's one of these fabrication jobs. Obviously experimental. Had big white A, B, C levers on it. Everything was obviously just put together. We're sitting there, and then on the intercom comes our first lieutenant. And he says, all right, man. He says, I'm your captain. I'm Lieutenant Johnson. And have any of you ever done any parachute work? And, of course, there we're sitting. And he says, look, you all have parachutes issued to you, and in case of trouble, the crew chief will give you further instructions. Further instructions? What kind of trouble? And right there we're sitting. And he starts with the motors. You know how they gun the motors to see whether the oil pressure is up? And they go... And you can see oil squirting out of this tub, Everything's like... We're looking... Gases. My God, what is this? What are they trying to do? What kind of talk do they want to put over the wires? And then he turns it around, and she slowly looks down that runway. And with that, it starts to roll. Well, we start rolling down the runway, and we immediately, the five of us, are saying, this is not a bad deal. This is not a bad deal. I wonder if they're going to form airborne wire laying teams. You get flight pay. You get flight pay. Gee, that's great. We got helmets, maybe some wings and stuff. Wings with wire hanging down, wire laying team, little silver wire, something, combat boots and everything. So we're talking, and immediately, we start thinking of the great stuff that's going to happen, and that plane is all the while going. Well, a DC-3 that has had maybe 16 million hours on its airframe and like 458 combat missions on its two poor, sad, tired engines is the noisiest, insanest, scariest machine that I know of. Everything creaks. Little things leak. I don't know what is in the cabin. The stuff is squirting out little pipes and stuff all over it, and things are rattling, and the windows are going, and it's up. Oh, it's up for a second and sort of settled. The trees are coming up and down, and it settles down, and you say, "Whew." Well, immediately after getting up in the air, we're about, maybe 500 feet in the air, and this clown up in the front gets on the thing. He says, all right, we'll be over the area now in about 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes? We're just up. They don't mess around in the Army. They don't go out, show you Rome and things. But below is Jones Beach, folks. So I'll take a look at that. He says, 2.5 minutes, we'll be over the area. Prepare your equipment. And one of the guys says, what do you mean? He says, what do you mean? What do you mean? Open the hatch. I get up. It's me, And Gasser. And we both get up. We look down at this thing, and I got my big thing here marked B, and Gasser's got A, or I got A, and he's got B. We're standing there. We can't even figure. Gasser, what are we supposed to do? Gasser says, what do you do, pull it up or sideways? I said, well, Gasser, let's just both grab it together and pull. And so we're standing there, and with that, the guy backing me, Johnson says, hey, listen. He says, who's supposed to work the winch? And I turn around, I don't want the winch. I work this. Don't give me the winch. And I've got my earphones on, and the thing is shaking. It's very funny. You don't feel at all like a hero. You just feel like, this is ridiculous stuff. And with that, Gasser says, well, okay. So I look across, and we pull this thing back. It goes clunk, clunk, clunk. And for an instant, it didn't work. It didn't come up. Clunk, clunk. And the thing flew back, and there was the most insane torrent of wind. Papers, junk, cigar butts, all the stuff. This old airplane, had been taking guys over Germany for years. We're standing back, and here it goes underneath us. The trees. Insane, everything, water towers, and it's just a big green, yellow, brown, white. You ought to look straight down from an airplane. You think you know the speed of an airplane when you're 35,000 feet above Cleveland in a DC-8 or a 707. Wow, 250, 400 feet above the ground looking straight down. You can't believe it. You cannot believe anything be like this. It's just like a blur. It's like a Jackson Pollock painting that's gone nutty. And we're standing there, and then he says, all right, drop the stuff. We're coming up, drop. We're frozen. He's standing. He says, what happened? Is the stuff out? We're here. What happened? All right, we'll go back around the course again. And so we're feeling, are we feeling rotten? This is not the way Errol Flynn would have done it. We sort of stand there, and he is eating us out. We did not realize that the pilot is in charge of this thing. He is. And he says, do you realize the captain and 2 majors and a lieutenant colonel are watching? He says, I'll pretend that we were just taking a quick practice run over. He gets on the radio, practice run now. We're going into actual run bomb now. Going into actual wire laying run now. That means there ain't no chickening out this time. So we go back around, the plane makes that big, gentle, sweeping curve, makes the wings down, and he starts coming down again. He lays it right on the deck this time. And boy, you can see the trees, you can see dust flying from our wake. We're hanging on there. And with that, Johnson gets over, he's edging over by this winch, it's over here, and here's the hole, I'm over. He edges around, he holds onto the thing. The other guy's got this little crummy parachute that's hooked to the end of the wire. It's got like little cables and stuff. He says, okay, we're all watching. The lieutenant is saying, Ready, man, alert? Okay, back there? Give me a check. Johnson says, yeah. Okay. Okay, isn't it great how they talk in movies, those guys on the intercom? All right, Roger, 7 o'clock high, bandits at 7 o'clock high. You ought to hear the way they really talk on those things. Ah, 7 o'clock! Ah! They really do, you know. There's ex-fighter pilots. Oh, let me tell you, there's a lot of stuff goes on in those fighter planes you never thought, I'll tell you. Well, we're standing there, we're giving it, okay. It's all right. At the count of 3, out with the chute. 1, he's gunning the thing. 2, 3. And Johnson takes his fingers like that. And it sort of for a second, it's a funny thing. Disaster happens in slow motion. It just sort of fell like this for a second. It just sort of spun. We're all looking, all 5 of us. It spun over maybe a couple of times, a little lead weight on it, and suddenly it caught the wind. And it went, whee! Whee! And this wire is going on, whee! Whee! And the thing is screaming and is smoking. And we're stuck back like that. And it's gone completely out of its skull. This little winch is screaming. And it's going. Bolts are flying. Johnson said, "Hey, Lieutenant!" He says, "Shut up! What am I going to do?" And the plane is flopping. Obviously, the drag or something is not the way it should have been, and the plane is going, This thing is going, and all of a sudden the winch goes, boom, and it hangs in midair for a second, and whoa! And there is silence in the plane. And the 5 of us stand there, and there's this empty hole. And there's this, you can see where it's been pulled out by the roots, wires and stuff. All of our stuff is gone. The lieutenant says, "How did it go?" Johnson says, "It's gone." And the lieutenant says, "What do you mean?" He says, "It's gone. Everything's gone. Can we close the thing? Can we close it up, sir, Lieutenant?" And the wind is blowing in, and all of us are hanging, like this. Check your belts. You got your safety belts on? You guys all got your chutes buckled? What? What's he leading up to? And the lieutenant says, "Sit down in your seats, buckle your belts, and hang on." We're holding, and the wind is screaming. All 5 of us are just hanging out to those holding rods. We make a big turn, and we see Dick's coming into view again. There's those little white houses down there. And he begins to drop. And now we see coming up that meadow that we had taken off from. The sergeant up in front, the crew chief, is on the phones. "Belts checked. Check your belts. Check your belts. The lieutenant's bringing it in." And then you hear the flaps. You know that flap sound? Boom. Whee! Boom. Boom. She comes in. Boom. And the worst part of it is all of us can see the ground right below us coming up faster and faster. Whoa. Boom. She hits. We're up again. Boom. 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 And then it's just rolling. We see the ground and the dandelions are getting slower and slower. And all of a sudden it stops. We just sit. The lieutenant just whips the back end of this thing around. He throws it. Blah, 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 blah. These are very cool cats. They don't care, He's whipping it back. Blah, blah. Where all of us are sitting there. Absolutely unable to even think. We just sit. We get to the end of the runway, and it goes. These guys up in front, the three of them get up. Just like that. They open the door, out they go. Gasser, Johnson, me, we slowly get up. Big hole. Watch out for the hole, Johnson. Down the ladder, you know, they don't have steps in these things. You go down the ladder, we're on the ground, and our helmets are waving us down. And there is the captain. Looks at his watch. Men, I guess I don't have to tell you, that was a very poor performance.